Have you ever been in a moment where everything inside you was screaming, boiling, roaring, but outside you had to pretend everything was fine? Have you ever felt like your emotions were driving the car while you were just a passenger in the back seat, helpless, confused, and frustrated? This video is for you, for the man who's had enough of being ruled by the chaos inside, for the man who's ready to take the wheel of his life again with clarity, with strength, and with wisdom. Because the truth is, emotions are powerful, but they are not your enemy. They're messengers, warnings, weapons. But when you don't learn to lead them, they will lead you into frustration, into fear, into weakness, into regret. But today, we're going to change that. We're going to dive deep into how you can master your emotions before they master you. Through the battle-tested wisdom of history, the soul-shaking truths of real experience, the undeniable lessons written in the scars of great men, and the unbreakable power of God's Word, you will gain tools that will reshape how you see your mind, your heart, and your mission. This isn't about cliches. This is about understanding how kings, warriors, prophets, and ordinary men rose above the emotional storms that could have destroyed them. And how you can too. We're not here for shallow talk. This is about real transformation. This is about discipline, dominion, control. And above all, this is about freedom. The kind of inner freedom no situation, no betrayal, no heartbreak, and no storm can take away from you. So grab your focus, breathe deep, and prepare yourself. Because what you're about to hear may just be the most important message of your life. This is not just a video, this is a wake-up call. Welcome to Master Your Emotions Before They Master You, where pain becomes purpose, where frustration becomes fuel, where the fire inside you finally comes under your command. Like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment below, because you never know who might need to hear this message, and your words might be the reason they find it. 1. The war within, understanding the battle of emotions. Before a man can win the battles around him, he must first learn to win the war within him. This chapter is about understanding the battlefield, not the battlefield outside, not your job, your circumstances, your relationships. I'm talking about the invisible battlefield behind your eyes and beneath your chest. The war between your emotions and your decisions, between what you feel and what you know, between what you want right now and who you're trying to become. Many men spend their whole lives fighting the wrong enemy. They try to fix their world without fixing their inner world. But emotions, unchecked, undisciplined, misunderstood, can become the very chains that keep a man from becoming who he was born to be. Emotions are energy in motion. They are signals, reactions, and chemical messages that reflect your thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions. But here's the key. Emotions are not commands. They're not rulers. They're not facts. They're not even permanent. They're like waves, powerful but temporary. Think of a king and his army. Emotions are the messengers. They rush in from the field and say, "We're under attack," or "We're winning," or "We've been betrayed." But it's the king, you, who decides what to do with that information. Most men let the messengers make the decisions. And when that happens, frustration, anger, fear, jealousy, they begin to rule. And once they rule, they destroy. Proverbs 25:28 says, "He that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls." A city without walls is vulnerable, exposed, and easy to conquer. That's what happens to a man who doesn't control his emotions. He becomes vulnerable to the world, to temptation, to reaction, to every little offense and wound. He's easily conquered. Let's talk about what's at stake. Because this isn't just about being a calm guy or learning to chill out. If you don't master your emotions, you will. ruin relationships with your wife, your kids, your friends. Make foolish decisions that destroy your future. Sabotage opportunities because of impulsive behavior. Live with guilt, shame, and regret for things you said or did when you weren't thinking, you were feeling. And worst of all, you become a man who doesn't trust himself. Have you ever looked in the mirror after you lost control, and hated what you saw? That's what happens when your emotions master you. You lose more than control. You lose confidence. You lose peace. You lose yourself. Now let me clear something up. Mastering your emotions does not mean burying them. It doesn't mean pretending you don't feel. That's not mastery, that's denial. And what's buried alive stays alive. It just grows in the dark, rotting, twisting, poisoning everything from the inside out. True mastery means you are honest about what you feel, but you are also strong enough not to let those feelings control your voice, your choices, or your destiny. Jesus, the most emotionally disciplined man who ever walked the earth, felt everything: anger, sorrow, grief, even anguish. But he was never ruled by those feelings. John 11:35 says, Jesus wept. He didn't hide his emotions. He expressed them, but in the right way, at the right time, for the right reason. And then he acted out of truth, not out of emotional reaction. You can't fix what you don't understand. The first and most powerful step to mastering your emotions is becoming aware of them. Most men were never taught emotional awareness. We were taught to either explode or suppress. But a real man and a strong man learns to observe his emotions. When you feel frustration, stop and ask, what am I really feeling? What triggered this? Is this emotion telling me the truth, or is it just reacting to my fear or pain? Is this emotion helping me grow or trying to keep me stuck? Write it down, speak it out, pray over it. Psalm 139, verses 23 to 24, says, Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. God doesn't shame you for what you feel. He wants to reveal it, because what is revealed can be healed. History is full of men who lost everything because they couldn't master their emotions, and men who changed the world because they could. Alexander the Great conquered empires but couldn't conquer his own temper. His rage led him to kill his closest friend in a drunken fury. Abraham Lincoln, on the other hand, was known for writing angry letters and never sending them. He understood the power of pause. He mastered the space between feeling and action. The difference between greatness and ruin is often what a man does with what he feels. You were not made to be emotionless. You were made to be fierce, passionate, fully alive, but not out of control. Your emotions are like fire. Fire can warm a house or burn it to the ground. It's not the fire that's dangerous. It's the man who never learned to control it. And when you become a man whose emotions serve him, not enslave him, you become unstoppable. So now you see the real war isn't out there. It's in here. And every day you wake up, you're stepping onto that battlefield. You don't get to opt out. You don't get to hide from it. You either master your emotions or you let them master you. But here's the truth. You were not born to be ruled by what you feel. You were born to lead yourself with power, purpose, and divine authority. And that starts by refusing to be a slave to temporary emotions that are trying to sabotage your eternal purpose. Yes, you will feel frustration. Yes, you will feel fear, anger, sadness, even despair. But those emotions don't define your manhood. How you respond to them does. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be awake, aware, and armed with the tools to respond with wisdom instead of weakness. This is the beginning of your rise. You've seen the battlefield. Now it's time to build your walls. to fortify your spirit, to become the kind of man who walks through fire and doesn't burn, because in the next chapter we're not just surviving the battle, we're taking back ground, we're rebuilding what was broken, and when we're done there, you won't just be reacting to life anymore, you'll be ruling it. 2. Rebuilding the fortress, becoming a man of inner strength. A man who has no walls is a man who falls to anything, but a man who builds himself from the inside out. He becomes a fortress, calm in chaos, unshaken by storms, fierce but focused. This chapter is about building that man, because if chapter 1 revealed the battlefield, then chapter 2 is about laying the bricks. You are the builder. Brick by brick, with discipline, identity, purpose, truth, and spiritual power, you will create a foundation no emotion can shake and no pressure can break. This isn't about acting tough, it's about being strong. And real strength isn't how loud you yell, it's how deep you're rooted. Let's dig in. The foundation, who you really are. Most men never build inner strength because they don't know who they are. You can't build a fortress on uncertainty. You must build on identity. But here's the problem. If your identity is built on things that can be taken, money, status, job, looks, women, then your emotional life will always be fragile. One rejection, you fall. One bad month, you collapse. One disrespectful word, you explode. Because your walls weren't walls, they were illusions. Inner strength starts with knowing who you are apart from your achievements. Before you were successful, before you were respected, before you were noticed, you were already called by something higher. Isaiah 43:1 says, "Fear not, for I have redeemed thee, I have called thee by thy name, thou art mine." That verse doesn't say you're valuable because of what you've done, it says you're valuable because of whose you are. Your strength begins when your identity is no longer tied to performance, but to purpose. You are not what they said about you. You are not the mistakes you made. You are not your bank account or your reputation or your failures. You are a man made in the image of the Most High. And when you believe that, you stop needing the world's approval to feel strong. That's the first brick. Discipline. The daily mortar of the fortress. Discipline is not about doing something big once. It's about doing the right, small things consistently. And let me say it plainly, if you don't learn to discipline your habits, your thoughts and your emotions, your potential will rot inside of you. The difference between strong men and weak men isn't talent, it's discipline. Proverbs 16:32 says, "He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city." Ruling your spirit is greater than taking a city. Why? Because anyone can conquer land, but not everyone can conquer themselves. You can be powerful on the outside, a boss, a leader, a provider, and still be a slave to your urges, your anger, your laziness, your lust. Discipline isn't about punishment, it's about protection. When you build daily disciplines, prayer, stillness, exercise, journaling, strategic action, you are fortifying the walls of your inner man. You're not just reacting to life anymore, you're directing it. Emotional weightlifting, strength from pressure. Think of emotional strength like going to the gym. You don't get stronger by avoiding the weight, you get stronger by lifting it. Inner strength is forged under pressure. It's built when you're angry but respond with wisdom. You're rejected but still show up with confidence. You're tired but still do what's right. You feel lost but still walk by faith. Every time you respond with truth instead of reaction, you're putting another stone in your wall. And here's what most men don't realize. Strength isn't just about winning, it's about enduring. It's about staying committed when you don't feel inspired. It's about doing what's right when no one is watching. It's about staying steady when everything around you is shaking. James 1:12 says, Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life. There is a crown for those who endure, but it doesn't come cheap. It's earned in the fire. It's earned in the quiet. It's earned in the choices no one sees. And the good news? You don't need to feel strong to be strong. You just need to show up again and again and again. Integrity, the unshakable core. You can build success without integrity. You can even gain power, money, and women without integrity. But you cannot build inner strength without it. Integrity means your inner world matches your outer actions. It means you don't betray your values to gain validation. It means you live by principle, not pressure. Every time you lie, fake, or pretend, you chip away at your own strength. Because deep down you know, I'm not who I say I am. But every time you choose truth, even when it's costly, you grow stronger inside. Psalm 15, 1-2 says, Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? He that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness, and speaketh the truth in his heart. Men of inner strength speak the truth, not just to others, but to themselves. They don't live in denial. They don't hide behind pride. They own their flaws, correct their course, and keep walking. Integrity is quiet. It's not loud or flashy. But it's the steel in your spine. It's the peace that lets you sleep at night. It's the reason your wife trusts you. It's the reason your children follow you. It's the reason your future is secure. Power under control. Real strength is never out of control. Real power is never wild. It is controlled, directed, purposeful. A nuclear plant generates massive power, but it must be carefully contained or it destroys everything around it. Same with your emotional strength. Yes, be passionate. Yes, be intense. Yes, be on fire. But don't be reckless. Don't let your emotions turn into explosions. Let them become energy, converted, focused, and productive. Jesus didn't lose control in the storm. He calmed it. He didn't panic when betrayed. He fulfilled his purpose. He didn't retaliate when mocked. He stood in silent strength. He was the most powerful man to ever live, but he was never shaken because his power was under control. That's what you're building now. The fortress stands. You've begun rebuilding your inner walls, not to hide from the world, but to stand strong in it. You've seen where emotions can become enemies. Now you're becoming the kind of man who turns emotions into fuel, a man whose identity is solid, discipline is daily, reactions are restrained, strength is tested, integrity is intact, power is under control. This is the kind of man who leads. This is the kind of man who lasts. Psalm 1:3 says, And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Planted, rooted, unmovable, that's you. And now that your fortress is standing, it's time to move into something even greater, because in the next chapter you're not just surviving emotion. You're not just standing strong. You're about to learn how to transform your emotions into fuel for legacy, leadership, and divine power. 3. Fire into fuel, turning frustration into purpose. Frustration. That burning pressure inside your chest, that restless, grinding tension when life doesn't line up, when people don't listen, when progress feels like it's slipping through your hands. Frustration is real. And for too many men, it's the moment they break down. But for others, it's the moment they break through. This chapter is about transformation, taking that fire inside you and turning it into fuel, turning frustration into focus, turning pressure into power, turning pain into purpose, because frustration doesn't have to be your enemy. it can become your engine. What frustration is trying to tell you? Frustration isn't random. It's not just an emotional hiccup. It's information, a signal from your spirit, your mind, your conscience. Frustration is a sign that something matters deeply to you. It might be a goal unmet, a boundary crossed, a value violated, a destiny delayed, a capacity unused. It's a signal that something inside of you is bigger than your current situation. Frustration is often the pain of unrealized potential. But here's the trap. When you don't understand your frustration, it turns into destruction. You lash out, you sabotage, you burn bridges, you shrink your vision. But when you understand it, you can channel it. You can ask yourself, what is this frustration revealing about what I truly want? What strength is trying to break out of me right now? What change is this pain demanding? Frustration, when paired with wisdom, becomes a compass. The men who transformed their frustration. History is filled with men who turned frustration into purpose and changed the world. Nelson Mandela sat in prison for 27 years. He could have let bitterness consume him. But he used that time to study, think, forgive, and prepare. When he came out, he didn't come out angry. He came out ready to lead. His frustration became a platform. The Apostle Paul wrote letters from prison, the very words that make up half the New Testament. He was beaten, betrayed, locked down. But that pressure produced purpose. He didn't waste the pain. He turned it into power. David, before he was king, was chased, hunted, falsely accused, and forced to hide in caves. But in those dark caves, he learned how to lead. He wrote psalms, he built character. Frustration forged his crown. What do these men have in common? They didn't wait for perfect conditions to become great. They turned their emotional fire into eternal fuel. So can you. The power of emotional conversion. Think of frustration like a raging river. If left wild, it floods and destroys. But if you harness it, build channels, spin turbines, it becomes hydroelectric power. Energy, motion, productivity. This is emotional conversion, taking raw, chaotic emotion and transforming it into targeted movement. Here's how. 1. Name the frustration clearly. Vague emotion creates chaos, but defined emotion can be redirected. Say, I'm not just angry, or I'm frustrated because I feel stuck in my purpose. Or I'm frustrated because I'm not living at my highest potential. Once it's clear, it becomes manageable. 2. Turn the why me into what now. Victimhood will drain your power, but action restores it. Say, what is this moment calling me to do differently? Where can I take one step forward? 3. Move your body, move your mind, move your mission. Don't sit in frustration. Transform it with movement. Work out, write, pray, plan, build. Let it drive you into your mission, not away from it. 4. Speak truth over your emotions. Emotions often lie, but truth corrects them. Say, I feel delayed, but I am not denied. I feel stuck, but I am being shaped. This is fuel, not failure. Biblical fire into fuel. Romans 5:3-4 says, we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope. In God's economy, pain is never wasted. Pressure produces perseverance. Perseverance creates strength, and that strength births hope. Not the soft kind, but the strong, unbreakable kind. God uses frustration to refine your mission. He uses delay to sharpen your character. He uses conflict to toughen your resolve. He uses rejection to redirect your path. Joseph was thrown into a pit by his brothers, enslaved in Egypt, and imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit. 13 years of frustration, but God used it to place him in a position of leadership that saved nations. What if the thing you're frustrated about right now is the very thing God is using to grow your greatness. Learning to sit in the fire without being burned. Some fires you fight. Some fires you face. Emotional strength doesn't mean you avoid the heat. It means you learn how to sit in it without letting it destroy you. This is what true resilience looks like. You feel the pressure, but you don't explode. You feel the delay, but you stay the course. You feel the tension, but you don't retreat into addiction or apathy. You rise. Because every time you choose to respond instead of react, to focus instead of flee, to pray instead of panic, you're growing into the kind of man frustration cannot conquer. Isaiah 48:10 says, "Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction." You are not forgotten in your frustration. You are being refined in it. The fire isn't the end. It's the forge. Turning frustration into movement. You weren't made to stay frustrated. You were made to turn frustration into focused action. Take your fire and do something with it. Build the business. Write the book. Start the ministry. Forgive the past. Discipline your habits. Call the mentor. Make the move. Wake up earlier. Pray longer. Speak truth louder. Don't just feel. The most dangerous man isn't the one who never gets frustrated. It's the one who knows what to do with it. 3. Fire into purpose. Frustration is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of capacity. It means there's more inside you than you're currently using, but it's your job to decide what that fire becomes. You can let it. Burn your relationships, burn your confidence, burn your time, or you can let it. Refine your purpose, focus your mind, propel your mission. You choose, because you're not just a man of feelings anymore. You're a man of direction, a man of focus, a man of purpose. Romans 8:28 declares, "All things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose." Even this, even the fire, even the frustration, God's hand is on it. And if you master it, it will not destroy you, it will deliver you. And now, with your fire burning, your walls standing, and your emotions under your command, you are ready for the final transformation. Because this journey isn't just about feeling better. It's about becoming a man who leads better, loves deeper, stands taller, and leaves a legacy that lives far beyond him. 4. Emotional kingship, leading with power, wisdom, and divine authority. A king is not a king because of his crown. He is a king because of his character, his vision, and his leadership. Leadership starts from within. You can't lead others until you've first mastered yourself. You can't guide the world until you've first led your own emotions, thoughts, and actions. In this final chapter, we're stepping into the realm of emotional kingship. We're not just building resilience or emotional discipline. We are learning to lead with authority in every area of life. It's time to rise up, take your place, and lead. The king's authority, taking dominion over your emotions. To become a king in your own life, you must understand authority. A king doesn't bow to his emotions bow to him. That's what separates those who live in emotional chaos from those who live in emotional order. It's the difference between a man ruled by his feelings and a man who rules his feelings. Genesis 1:26 says, "And God said, Let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion." Dominion. This is the power to rule, not just over the earth, but over your own soul. If you're not taking dominion over your emotions will take dominion over you. They'll control your decisions, dictate your actions, and destroy your peace. A man of emotional kingship leads with deliberate purpose. He's not reacting to the winds of life. He is the wind that moves things forward. Emotional wisdom, the king's discernment. A king doesn't lead by impulse, he leads by wisdom, and wisdom comes from knowing when to act, when to wait, and when to speak. Think about the stories of King Solomon, who was granted wisdom above all others. When two women came to him, both claiming a child as their own, Solomon didn't rush into judgment. He waited, assessed the situation, and ultimately discerned the truth. That's emotional wisdom. Not being quick to react, not being rash with your feelings, but allowing space for clarity and action rooted in insight. James 1:5 says, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him." Wisdom doesn't come from experience alone, it comes from God. It comes from knowing that you are not on your own, but that you have a divine source of understanding. The more you grow in wisdom, the less you are a slave to your feelings, and the more you become the wise ruler of them. Emotional kingship means being slow to anger, slow to speak, and quick to listen. Leading with emotional power. Transforming your strength into influence. Power without direction is dangerous, but power with purpose is unstoppable. An emotional king doesn't just control his emotions, he harnesses them for the good of his vision, his family, his community, and his legacy. This is where you begin to lead others. People are drawn to leaders who are strong but not abrasive. People follow men who are wise but not distant. Your emotional strength gives you the ability to influence. You influence your co-workers, your friends, your family, your children. You influence the atmosphere of every room you enter. Proverbs 16:32 says, "He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city." True strength isn't in brute force, it's in self-control. When you control your emotions, you gain the power to influence others, lead with compassion, and make decisions with clarity. Being a leader is not about telling others what to do. It's about showing them how to live. Your example speaks louder than your words. A king's influence. Protecting your legacy. Leadership isn't just about achieving success in the moment. It's about protecting your legacy for the long run. A king's influence stretches beyond his own life. Emotional kingship means making choices today that will leave a lasting impact tomorrow. You can't lead others if you're destroying yourself in the process. Your choices in how you treat others, how you manage your emotions, how you live your values, will create the legacy you leave behind. Psalm 112, 1-2 says, "Blessed is the man that feareth the Lord, that delighteth greatly in his commandments. His seed shall be mighty upon earth. The generation of the upright shall be blessed." This is the generational impact of emotional kingship. A man who rules his emotions doesn't just build a strong life for himself, he builds a strong future for his children, his family, and his community. His children will rise up and call him blessed because they've learned from his example of strength, wisdom, and purpose. Your legacy is what lasts. Emotional kingship teaches you how to make decisions that will echo far beyond your own life. Emotional kingship in action, leading through trials. Let's be real. Emotional kingship doesn't mean everything will be easy. You will face trials, setbacks, disappointments, and losses. But a king rules through adversity. He doesn't shrink back. He doesn't complain. He doesn't run away. Instead, he stands, he leads, he shows others the way. Think of King David, who faced not just battles, but betrayal, loss, and heartache. Yet he led with strength, and even when he stumbled, he got back up. He didn't let his failures define him. He allowed God's grace to define his future. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint." Strength for the journey. Emotional kingship isn't about avoiding the battle. It's about finding strength in the battle. And if you fall, you rise again with the wisdom and the power to keep leading. You were born for this. You were born to lead, to rule, to create, to influence, and to leave a legacy. You were born to take dominion over your emotions, not to be ruled by them. The world is waiting for men who lead with wisdom, power, and emotional control. The world is waiting for men like you, men who stand tall, men who lead with strength, men who live with purpose. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." You have the spirit of power, you have the spirit of love, you have the spirit of a sound mind. You have everything you need to live as an emotional king. Now go forth, lead with purpose, lead with wisdom, lead with strength, and above all, lead with love, because the greatest leaders are those who love deeply and serve humbly. This is your time. This is your kingdom. Rise, emotional king. Your reign begins now. And that's a wrap for Master Your Emotions before they master you. You've now learned how to harness the power of your emotions, transform frustration into fuel, and step into your full potential as an emotional king. But remember, this journey is just beginning. Mastery isn't a destination, it's a lifelong pursuit. As you continue walking this path, don't forget that the strength to lead and thrive is already within you. If this message resonated with you, if it empowered you or challenged you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss out on the next empowering video in this series. We'd love to hear from you, so comment below. Share your thoughts, your challenges, and your victories. You are not alone in this journey, and we're all here to support each other. Stay strong, stay focused, and remember, you are more than your emotions. You are a man of power, purpose, and divine authority. Until next time, take charge of your life and lead with strength. God bless.